Now it's time for you to move to the third prayer station of this year's interactive prayer journey. It is located just inside of the door to the sanctuary. Enter at the door marked, "Enter the Tabernacle here."
As you enter the sanctuary, you'll notice that there is a table in front of a curtain. Look for the tag on the table indicating that you are station number 3, Purification. Sit down at this table and open your booklet to page 8. The curtain in front of you represents the front door of the tabernacle. The outer boundary of the tabernacle was a fence that was 8.5 feet high. It was made out of linen that hung on poles that were attached to 60 pillars that made up the 150 by 75 foot outer boundary. The fence was too tall to look over. You had to go inside if you wanted to be in the Lord's presence. The door to the tabernacle was a gate. It was the only way inside. This gate pointed us towards Christ, who would later say, "I am the gate. Those who come in through me will be saved. They will come and go freely and will find good pastures." And then he said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me." Jesus is the gate to eternity. If you were to stand at his gate and he would say to you, "Why should I let you into my heaven?" what would you say to him? Take a minute to write down your answer. The Levites were one of the tribes of Israel. It is they who were tasked with the job of being the priests. They were the ones who cared for the tabernacle and all of the activities that took place within it. When it was time to move to another place, they were the ones who packed everything up and moved it to the next place. They did this for over 40 years. They did it with honor and respect. You see, you didn't just walk into the tabernacle. No, a person had to prepare to enter the tabernacle courts. The tabernacle wasn't the kind of place you casually entered. You didn't just walk into it like you would walk into a normal house. The tabernacle was God's house. It was holy. It was precious. It was approached with great respect and preparation. This need for preparation goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. God created Adam and Eve holy and perfect. He was able to dwell with them there in the garden. Actually, God would often walk and talk with Adam and Eve in the garden. Can you imagine that? God also gave them the opportunity to choose to follow him or to go their own way. They chose their own way, and sin entered the world. One of the consequences of sin was that they could no longer dwell with the Lord in his garden. He cast them out and put an angel to guard the east side of the garden, with a flaming sword that flashed back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. The entrance to the tabernacle was to face the east, so a person entering it would walk from east to west, a symbol of man coming from a place of death, walking towards the life that is found in the Holy of Holies at the west end of the tabernacle. Everything in the tabernacle pointed towards Jesus. You see, God did not leave Adam and Eve without hope. He promised that he would send a Redeemer, a Messiah, a Savior who would save them from their sin and restore relationship between God and man forever. This is what Jesus did for us when he died on the cross. You see, God desires a relationship with us, which is why he chose to tabernacle, also meaning to dwell with us. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and still deserves the closeness with us. In the times of the tabernacle, people had to bring sacrifices that would be burnt on the altar. This required a time of preparation. They would think about their sins and acquire the appropriate sacrifice to pay for those sins. Sometimes there was a grain sacrifice, or a pour offering, or a pigeon, or a dove, or sometimes it was a lamb, a goat, or a bull. We're not going to sacrifice anything like that today. Instead, take this time to prepare to enter the tabernacle by asking the Lord what areas of your life you need to offer to him as a sacrifice. You may need to seek forgiveness for something, or be willing to respond to something new he is calling you to do. Ask him, and when you hear him speaking to you, take a minute or two to write down what you're hearing in your journal.